So, ooh. Look at this. Okay. Someone really quite important. Hey! Yeah, Lumi! Okay. A check-in with some of the other Zoldyck siblings. Ah. Look at this. I mean, apparently half of them might actually die, but let's see. Oh shit, is this the place Illumi just showed up in? Could be. It actually could be. All that security. It is, isn't it? Oh, did he get to them? I think he did. Oh god. But who sent Illumi? Or hired him, rather. Iconic needles. Oh, great shot. Great shot. Oh. Cool. I like the fit change. Oh! Oh! Crollo! I mean, it kind of adds up. Tendons are no more. It's interesting how they still carried out the gig, though. Yeah, nothing personal. Though he was having a bit of fun, though. Oh, okay. A gig is a gig. Most likely, right? He was taking a defensive approach, right? Cheeky kid. Oh, Silva. A lion. Look at him. Are they going to meet again at some point down the line? Under different circumstances, perhaps? Time to rest. Yeah, these are tough cookies. Tough cookies to crack. Hey. Understandable. Clash of the Titans, right? Kurapika. Ah. Yeah, you're about to get taken out. Look at him. Ooh. Ah, Machi. Oh, I love the lighting here. Look at this. Oh, beautiful. This guy's eyes are just... Hakunara, okay. That explains it. Yeah, don't break this one. Ah. Whoa. I'll have to come back to that. I knew that at some point Kurapika and the other guy are going to be clutch once their abilities are revealed. Oh yeah, he doesn't know. Interesting. Look at this, look at this. Is that so? Look at this. Bro, you're gonna get kicked in the jaw. Or that. He's gotta see. Yeah, he's gotta see for himself. Let's see then. Ah, okay. Yeah, Kurapika's ability, right? Interesting. I'm thinking about the mechanics of it, you know, him specifying. The prophecy came true, kind of. It's an interesting approach by Kurolo. He had instructions to get it, right? Oh god. This is... of course. The skinhead. Gives him a chance to climb the ladder. Yeah. That's the unknown at this point though, right? Oh god, okay, yeah. They're really going in on this. As long as I have her. Maybe hold off for now. I mean, he just spent 2.9 billion. Oh god. And it's not even the real deal. He's about to turn into Thorfinn, isn't he? Hollow, directionless all of a sudden. This guy's asking for it. I mean, he knows now. Zepile. Okay then. It's funny how he's underage to drink, but he can just kill quite easily. Yeah, bit of a different case. Oh god. I mean, it's a fake, it's a copy, but still, he doesn't know that. Look.
俳優の使用済みティッシュを競り落として競売は終了だ。
残りの競売と買い物の付き添いは私たちでやるから、しばらく一人で休んだら。
そうか。すまないが、そうさせてもらう。
Alone, isolated.
もしもし、クラピカ？
A lifeline.
旅団を止めたいと言ってたな。だが、その必要はなくなったよ。雲は死んだ。
Wow, listen to the voice. He's like an empty husk now. Whoa.
残念。慰めてあげようと思ったのに。
マフィアンコミュニティ大したことなかった。信長がいなくても十分だったよ。
Look at this.
クラピカは今言いようのない虚しさを抱えていた。
Yeah.
コントギルアのアンサイクロペディア。今日ご紹介するのはコルトピ。
コルトピ
余談の一人。左手で触った物体の複製を右手で具現化する能力。ギャラリーフェイクには要注意だ。もしかして俺もフェイクかもよ。
Okay, let's get into it. There is quite a bit to get to. You know, it's a juicy episode, to say the least. But let's kind of focus on the ending. Let's kind of focus on Kurapika. The final moments of this episode are really quite, haunting, but also a little bit jarring, given the ending, score, the ending song kicking in. It does not fit there at all. I really do feel that they missed a beat there by bringing in the outro music, the outro song, and I say that because just a few episodes ago I saw that they are open to kind of having the moment play out into the outro, right, and not being kind of tethered to the outro in all circumstances. The Requiem episode, of course, iconic. There they made the right choice for sure to not bring in that intro. I just mixed outro and intro. That outro music. But here they decided to play it, and it is just jarring, man. Really, really quite jarring. But again, the thing is, I'm not even sure if the visuals are going to make any sense with that, piece of music. Kurapika on the rooftop. The line of dialogue that is given to the narrator is really quite poignant, isn't it? Kurapika is now drowning in an indescribable emptiness, right? That most definitely describes it really quite effectively, doesn't it? After a certain point, right? After that initial shock of the two guys telling him, the auction is still going on. The leader of the Phantom Troupe's been defeated. But then, after seeing the bodies that Kurapika conjured up, Kurapika is essentially so damn clutch, as expected, really, right? He's on the Phantom Troupe and he's there for a reason. After that point, and then again, after seeing the bodies for himself and buying the copies, essentially, right? That right there kind of even tells us just how impressive Kurapika's abilities are, right? Because they're talking about some of the mafia people are talking about DNA and teeth and all of that, looking into information so they can kind of pinpoint relatives and siblings and family and all of that, and kill them as well, put their faces online, right? At one point the one guy even said, yeah, you can decapitate them, right? Something along those lines, because they don't want the faces mangled or anything, right? Beyond the bloody mess they already are. So even that aspect of it is really quite jarring and unsettling, the nature of Kurapika's copies. But the thing is, up until this point, Hunter x Hunter has been really, really quite good about balancing or striking the right balance as far as abilities go, right? There's always a kind of catch. There's always limitations, and I'm sure the same is applicable to Kurapika. Otherwise, you could just do an infinite amount of things, really. You potentially have yourself, infinite money glitch on your hands through Kurapika. So I'm sure there's limitations to this. And of course, Kurapika's time in the spotlight and the limelight is really as clutch as it gets on two different ends. Of course, the dead bodies, and then of course the masterstroke of actually just robbing the mafia community once again, right? By essentially just taking over the second auction that does go on. At the end of the day, the Phantom Troupe just comes out on top. They're just laughing all the way to the bank. At the end there, you see there's a bit of a celebration going on. They're teasing Nobunaga once again. Hisoka, fresh off the phone, he tried to connect with Kurapika Perhaps to tell him, yeah, it's fine, they're still alive, you'll still have your chance. But of course, at that exact moment, Kurapika felt the need to kind of reach out, right, to perhaps a familiar face, familiar voice that is gone, right? The purpose of the call is to kind of tell him, no, it's done. It's done. You don't need to help me anymore. You don't need to think about this anymore. The spider is dead. And, he's saying the spider is dead because he believes the head of the spider is gone, right? Crollo himself, the leader of the Phantom Troupe, is gone. So yeah, even if there's other members of the Phantom Troupe out there for him to hunt, you see that he believes that, now that the leader is gone, and again, at least half of the Phantom Troupe is gone, the rest are just kind of going to, I don't know, disband, maybe just kind of disappear into the darkness overnight, right? The remaining members, that is. I mean, Hisoka tried, but I suppose at the end of the day, he can't really text just in case he finds himself in a tricky situation at any point with the rest of the Phantom Troupe, and if they get a hold of his phone for any reason. So yeah, texting was out of the equation, I suppose. But yeah, circling back to the ending, yeah, I'm not a fan. Wasn't a fan of that choice to have the ending music kick in at that point. It just immediately just takes you out of it, doesn't it? Right? Completely just kind of overpowers the whole thing. Takes you out of the mood, right? Even though it's quite a somber mood, it's still quite impactful and powerful nonetheless to be, kind of in that mindset, in that, headspace with Kurapika. But then, the theme kicks in and it's like, whoa, oh, okay. It kind of snaps you out of it really quite suddenly. It kind of hits you like a truck, much like how it hit Kurapika like a truck. His driving force in life at this point, his goal, his purpose in life, it just kind of evaporated so abruptly. You see, once that's gone, he almost immediately just shuts down. You see that by the end of it, he's essentially teetering on the edge. He really is. Yeah, even the voice acting is really quite impressive in terms of that internal shift that happened so suddenly, right? He's an empty husk. He truly is at this point. And now he's kind of in a position to reflect, right? He has no choice but to reflect on the path that he's been on. But also, that being said, Hisoka just tried to contact him, right? So, maybe I'll have to hold off on the whole reflecting, introspection and all of that, right? Maybe he's not about to go down the same road as Thorfinn just yet, in terms of potentially drowning in that emptiness within, or, kind of filling up that emptiness with new purpose in life. A new focus, a new drive in life, right? Maybe it's not at that point just yet, because, the thing is, they know about Kurapika now. He's right there as he comes up, and, the auctioneer, who has been, of course, taken over by Sean Lark, he's straight up asking the question, so you're from the Nostrada family, yes? So now they know, they've seen him. They've seen the missing bodyguard that they've been looking for, that they had no reference for online, right? In the database. And also, you've got Pakunara, who's standing right there in front of him, who's looking at him, I'm sure she's taking in all the details. She's looking at his hand. They've seen the chains, or at least she's seen the chains. Though I'm sure Sean Lark might be looking at it as well. Though he did say he put the auctioneer on autopilot, so he might not be actually looking at his remote control. But doesn't matter. There's at least one of them that is standing right there, Pakunara, who's taking all of it in, and she's noted at this point. Okay, there he is. That's the person. That's the one they're looking for. So again, maybe I should reel it back in. I'm not even sure just yet if this is truly the ending of Kurapika's crusade. It's entirely possible that, within the span of 1 or 2 episodes, he might find out and he's going to be right back in there, right? Get dialed in once again. So yeah, let's hold off on that talk for now, because, the thing is, now the Phantom Troupe might have the element of surprise on Kurapika, right? The tables have turned. They have the element of surprise on essentially everyone. Though, of course, Zeno and Silva know that Crollo did not die, because, it's being reported that it was the Zoldycks that actually got to them, right? They themselves know that, of course, Crollo is still alive, because they just decided to walk once, it's confirmed to them by someone else from the Zoldyck family, Illumi, making a glorious return alongside the other sibling as well. That yeah, the 10 Dons are dead, and their client, or his client, Crollo, kind of sanctioned it or paid for those services, right? And it kind of goes back to that speculation I had about Crollo potentially having a long-term goal in mind in terms of handling or dealing with the mafia community, right? There could be a long-standing plan at play here that he finally seems to have executed, perhaps, because now the 10 Dons are gone. The mafia community is about to just, I don't know, self-destruct, or there's about to be a struggle at the top, or to take those empty spots. Though of course that's only once the news kind of spreads about the 10 Dons being dead. At this point, it's not even a given that news is going to get out, right? You get to see just how impressive Illumi's abilities are, his manipulation abilities. He can essentially reanimate a corpse and make it appear as if nothing's wrong, right? That's how I played out, right? If I'm understanding that correctly. And if that wasn't enough of a body blow, right, that his life's purpose is now extinguished all of a sudden, he had to keep it professional. Somehow he had to keep it professional, get back in there once he found out that indeed the auction is going on, even though of course it's just full of counterfeits, including the Scarlet Eyes. But that's just for us, the audience, and the Phantom Troupe to know. Kurapika had to go down there and bid on those eyes. And then he has to go toe to toe with anyone else from the audience that's trying to get those eyes. And there's quite a bit of interest there, right? Of course, that the skinhead guy comes back in, right? He makes, Light Nostrada spend a pretty penny on this one. Though, isn't it insane that it was 2.9 billion for Scarlet Eyes? Just, it's insane to me that the copy of Greed Island is at 8.9 billion, the minimum. I believe they said that's a starting bid. So that's just insane to me. And the thing is, I kind of speculated about this because, they made it clear that, that's one of the items that, the person in charge is looking to retrieve, to acquire, right? So there was always a possibility that, Kurapika himself might be the one who's doing the bidding. He might be in the auction house as the bidding is going on. And in fact, that's exactly how it plays out, because it really kind of makes sense to have Kurapika be the one to do the bidding, right? Be in the bidding process or the bidding war. Yes, it's harsh, right? It really is, but it just kind of made sense that it is probably going to be him, most likely. So not only did he have to, go and bid on his, clan's remains, he had to do it against other people that are interested. And, he's made it a point in the past, even though, that's not really quite on his mind at the moment, that, he's going to take care of everyone who partakes in this, right? Human trophies and all of that. So yeah, that's just it's dark, man. It's really quite dark. And then once he actually has the eyes, even if they are counterfeits, yeah, the trek back to the hospital, the walk home, oh my god. I mean, at one point, the skinhead guy, he finds himself on the edge, on the brink, essentially, right? This close to dying. And the thing is, at this point, he's kind of seen Kurapika's Scarlet Eyes, right? So he knows about the Scarlet Eyes. He was bidding on them, right? He drove up the auction price, right? So yeah, he's alive and he's seen Kurapika's eyes. So he knows that at least there is one more from that clan that's out there and active. So I don't know if that's going to play a part at all, or if this guy's just kind of learned his lesson and he's going to kind of steer clear of Kurapika and Nostrada, perhaps. And then there's a hospital room scene. First of all, Neon has finally come to, and she's really quite delighted, really quite happy, as she's holding up the eyes. Oh my god! At that point, the camera kind of shifts to Kurapika. He's just absolutely dead inside. Right? Imagine being in his position. That his I don't know, his family or his clan's final remains are kind of reduced to a plaything for a child, right? A collector's item, something that she's kind of really excited about right now, but she's going to lose interest almost immediately. She's going to be thinking about the next flashy thing that she can get, and she'll get it. I mean, let's see. Like I said, I believe, Nostrada's in for a rude awakening himself really soon, because now it's really pointing towards, Neon potentially not having that ability at all. And, it's really, really hamming it up. It's really leaning into, he's going on about, oh, as long as I have her, as long as, I have my trump card, that she is my trump card always, I can always make that money back. She's my, rope to the top. She's my ladder to the top. Right. And I have to keep her happy because, again, keeping her happy is going to help him in kind of climbing that ladder, making a name for himself, continue to make a name for himself, right? And kind of enable that really spoils lifestyle for her, right? He enables it. He does. She's bratty and really insufferable at times. But listen, at the end of the day, she's a child. Yes, she's a special child. She's capable of incredible things. Or, again, it's a bit of a question mark at this point, because it could be in the past tense as well. She used to be capable of incredible things, right? So, yes, she's bratty, she's spoiled, but he enables that, right? Because at the end of the day, she is a tool, right? She is a tool for his, professional endeavors. So yeah, it's really toxic. Though, of course, on the surface level, it's as simple as, oh, okay, I'm happy, I forgive you. And, it's as simple as just getting her the things that she wants to keep her happy and content. So she'll keep doing the boring stuff of providing those sought after fortunes, those prophecies that you see many of the mafia community kind of really, really kind of latches onto as gospel almost. Right? They show us a few of the members latching onto those fortunes that they received really quite recently, right? But, there it also does a good job of reiterating that, okay, these fortunes, yes, they are pretty accurate. They are, based on prior history or track record. But if you can heed the warnings, then you could maybe sidestep it, right? So it's really quite accurate, but it's not really set in stone. And in this episode, you potentially even get to see someone who received one of those fortunes really quite recently. And I'm speaking of the glorious Crollo, right? You see that he actually put something into motion that might, almost kind of tick off those boxes, right? He staged the death of at least half of the Phantom Troupe, including himself, right? And he was just recently told, oh, the spider is going to lose half its limbs. It's almost as if he's making it happen in this manner. But of course, that might not be the only reason, because, they have a lot of incentive to stage their death, right? They are the Phantom Troupe after all. And, speaking of the second part of their name, the Troupe, they really live up to that name as well in this one. Right, they put on quite the performance. And I think episodes ago at this point, I was talking about their approach to acquiring these, treasures and all of that. Right. And I think I mentioned something like Ocean's 11 and their, approach to it all. I get to see that approach because this episode is a showcase for the other things the Troupe is really, really quite capable of. Right. It really shows you their intelligence as a clan, as a group, as a troupe. I mean, up until this point, they've shown me just how devastating, how formidable, how ruthless they can be. Just a few episodes ago, in one of the most iconic moments in all of anime, I saw the Requiem, right? In the honor of the late Uvogin, right? Go all out. Go as crazy as possible. I saw the might, the true might of the fan. I mean, not even the true might. Again, it was a training session, but they took out something like 2,000 plus men just like that, really quite easily, right? So they're ruthless. If needed, they can be devastating, but there's also this side of it. You really get to see the collective experience of the Phantom Troupe in this one, right? And, it kind of goes back to that point I made episodes ago at this point, the potential of a collection of incredible abilities that are kind of perfect to have in this kind of group, in this kind of clan, right? And they are the perfect abilities to have, as showcased once again through Kurapika. And the thing is, there's still one more unknown, the boxer guy, the guy who's all bandaged up. I'm sure his abilities are just as impressive, just as exciting even. But yeah, there really is something quite special about this level of execution, right? That, they are capable of this as well. That they are intelligent. I mean, that was made clear really up front. At no point did I think, okay, this is just a group of brawlers, right? They're capable of it, most definitely capable of it, but they're not just that, right? They made it a point to establish them in a manner that certainly, got the point across. Okay, hold on. This is not your average or usual group of, antagonists, if you could even call them that, right? Sure, from a certain perspective, from a certain character's perspective, yes, maybe, right? But I'm not really calling them that. But yeah, going back to staging the death of half of the Phantom Troupe, beyond my speculation about, him kind of fulfilling some of the conditions of the recently received fortunes from Neon, beyond that possibility, there's a strong possibility that, it's just a simple case of, okay, let's make them think that, half of our group is dead, the leader is dead, so the group is probably on its last legs, if you will. So of course, from a tactics standpoint, that's a fantastic move to make. And, I kind of touched up on this a little bit earlier in terms of the news of the 10 Dons passing, kind of, making it into the open. It still kind of remains to be seen if Illumi or the Zoldicks have any further plans for the 10, dead Dons, right? As far as, extracting information, perhaps, because of course the 10 Dons are or were meant to be really quite influential, wealthy, and all of that, right? So, maybe the Zoldicks are going to extract a bit more out of that situation, right? But, the thing is, that being said, it was made really clear that this is just strictly Illumi's gig. Though, of course, there is another Zoldyck sibling accompanying him, and I'm sure, there's a reason for that as well. But yeah, back to the initial point, this is a totally separate gig, right? So, Zeno and Silva, they clearly haven't instructed Illumi to do anything specific, right? So, maybe I should just speak for Illumi. Maybe Illumi might have a few more ideas for, the dead 10 Dons and how to kind of proceed in terms of gaining a bit more information, perhaps. Extracting a bit more information, perhaps. I mean, they got to that place. I mean, it's a secluded island. It looks like this really exclusive place for just the 10 Dons to kind of get together. I mean, it's a silly thing. It's a silly move to get together, to be honest. All 10 of them in one place. Realistically speaking, you would have each one of them kind of, do like a live chat or something from a safe place, safe location. But the thing is, they may have thought that this is really as safe as it gets, and it might have been. But again, you've got Zoldicks on the gig, you've got Illumi on the gig, right? And he got there, him and his other sibling got there. But there's also a possibility that Chrollo simply hired Illumi to do this because he also just kind of knew or predicted or just kind of understood that, okay, if the shadow beasts are defeated, then of course the next person or the next people they can potentially hire or possibly hire are the Zoldicks, because of course in the shadow beasts are their own, so of course they go out first. So once those are once those are out of the picture, or they are out of the picture, then of course they are going to go to the best. I mean, yes, they hired a bunch of other assassins as well, but those people are so out of their depth. Rather, they were out of their depth, long gone at this point. But essentially, it also kind of feels like Chrollo kind of understood that, and he knew that, at some point, the Zoldyck clan is going to be hired, and they are going to come after us and me. And of course, in that there's a few other openings as well, right? In this, he straight up just confirms, right, that indeed he was trying to snatch their abilities, steal their abilities, right? There's actually a really wholesome, I mean, I guess you can call it wholesome, more of a human moment, a humanizing moment, as he just lays back in the rubble and he's just kind of annoyed and he's making that face and those noises. He's just really annoyed that he couldn't snatch the abilities. And, his demeanor and the voice acting at that moment, it just really humanized Chrollo. that he is able to have these moments of levity himself. But there's also some other really interesting details that come out of the aftermath of the missed blast. Listen, Silva is not going to miss, right? There's that big cliffhanger that happened in the last episode. If that didn't land, it's because Silva didn't want it to land. I suppose he was able to redirect it at the last moment. And listen, I kind of spoke on this, didn't I? Sometimes, in cliffhangers, they make it seem like, okay, this is it. How exactly is Chrollo going to get out of this? But of course, us, the audience, knows that, of course, they're not going to die there, that Chrollo's not going to die there. And indeed, something did come up. It was essentially, if I'm understanding this correctly, it was essentially the beeper, right? It was the beeper that goes off. And I'm guessing, Silva decides, okay, if it's the beeper going off, of course, it's going to be one of my children, right? So I'm going to take that call immediately. So I suppose he redirects the explosion, and yeah, it still creates quite the blast, and there's a lot of debris and they're buried under it. But of course, these are like titans and all, right? Chrollo and Zeno. So they're just fine, right? Just brush it off, a bit of dirt. But of course, Chrollo could not let them leave, or, Zeno specifically leave without asking him that question. If it was just me and you one-on-one, who would win? And Zeno said something really quite interesting, didn't he? He believes, yes, it would have been him, most likely, unless Chrollo actually decided to go all out and actually try to, kill him as well. So essentially, Zeno is giving him really quite the compliment, isn't he? That you would have put up quite an even fight, perhaps, or you would have made it really quite interesting if he chose to actually go out or go all out against me, right? Actually try to kill me, right? And then of course, Chrollo also kind of gets to understand that, yeah, Zeno knew the whole time that I'm taking more of a defensive approach, because in the last episode, it became clear that indeed he is trying to capture them, right? He pulled out the owl's ability and everything, the tarp. The fun tarp, I believe it's called. And now by the end of this episode, there's quite a bit of information there that can really give us a chance to strongly infer at this point that he needs them to be alive, right? He's trying to capture Zeno and Silva, as crazy as that sounds. He's trying to capture them, or he was trying to capture them alive. He wasn't trying to kill them, right? They showed me that the owl, for some reason, is kept alive after being tortured and after giving up all of that information and the treasure that he took from the vault, right? They made it a point to show me, okay, he's still alive. They're keeping him alive. And then there's something even more telling, right? He tells them, or he specifies to the members of the troupe, do not go after that ambulance. Do not harm that ambulance or the people inside of it, because Neon is being transported. So he needs her to be alive. He needs her to be okay, or make it to the hospital okay, in one piece, right? So I think at this point, you can infer, you can really truly infer that one of the restrictions or the conditions that Zeno kind of goes into in the last episode. I think he said something like, there's got to be something like 4 or 5 conditions that have to be met for something this OP. He didn't say that. Zeno didn't say OP. For an ability this strong, this powerful, this impressive, there's got to be quite a bit of restrictions and conditions that have to be met. So I think at this point, that's one of them, right? These people, the abilities that he does steal, they have to be alive. But you see that Chrollo gets to gain a bit of insight on the zoldicks and how they function as well, right? How they treat this business, right? It's nothing personal, right? Even if, Chrollo kind of puts it out there, this might be your only chance. You might not get a chance like this ever again to come across the leader of the Phantom Troupe. They didn't care. Zeno just tells them, nah, they're dead. There's no reason to continue anymore. He said that, I refuse to work for nothing, or to die for nothing, right? So, it's that age-old, saying, right? If you're good at something, never do it for free. Never do it for free. So it's always fascinating to hear from the zoldicks and how they function. And, I think it could be interesting perhaps down the line to see the zoldicks, or at least members of the Zoldyck clan, kind of fighting in a different, or fighting for a different reason, if that's ever a possibility. That could be interesting. in a totally different light, under totally different circumstances, them actually having to fight. And they even confirmed that indeed they knew about Illumi being hired for that job to take out the Tendons, but that was irrelevant. According to Zeno, they took the gig nonetheless, because again, a gig is a gig. They've been hired to do a job, and there's even the possibility of a bit of internal, I don't know, competition between the members of the Phantom Troupe. It's like, okay, you've been hired for your job, and then of course me and Silva have been hired for another job. Of course they're really quite conflicting, directly conflicting actually, but they took the jobs nonetheless. And it's more so about, okay, if you get yours done first, that's that. And if Silva and I get ours done first, then that's that, right? Also, going back a bit to finish my point, this could have been one of the possibilities that Crollo thought of, right? If he can get Illumi to take out the Tendons, then maybe they'll have no reason. They'll have no reason to come after me anymore. But again, that's still quite a gamble, if indeed that is his line of thinking as well. He had no idea that the members of the Zoldyck clan are going to just stop. But I've got to say that opening is fantastic. It's a glorious return for Illumi. I really enjoy Illumi, and I love that there is this type of character that only comes in every now and then. Right, he feels like the type of character that is able to have that type of intrigue, or is able to hold that type of intrigue. Right, I mean, I was so happy to see Illumi, excited to see him. I mean, even the voice acting, the cadence of his voice, there's something really quite alluring about it. You see that glorious hair once again. He's so different. Illumi is just something really unique. Some beautiful cinematography and art direction on display throughout the episode. Of course, in that intro scene as well, there's that one moment as the lightning strikes and you see Illumi standing in the back. Oh, that's got to be one of my favorite shots of the anime. And then, of course, in the second half, in the final moments of the episode, Kurapika's trek towards the hospital. The shots of him carrying the box with the scarlet eyes, those moments of him in that state, it's essentially some of the most striking imagery, and also some of the most haunting and sad and heartbreaking imagery. But that being said, these types of episodes, right? Perhaps even the Requiem episode from a few episodes ago, these are the types of episodes I'm making note of to check out in the original as well. Right. Of course, I still have plans to check out episode 1 of the original, hopefully really soon. And of course, there's a check-in with, Zepile and Leorio, and then of course Gon and Killua show up. Of course, Zepile and Leorio are really kind of on the same page. They're having a fun time, but yeah, things get really serious, or they get down to serious talk really quite quickly after a few moments of levity. They kind of reiterate that, okay, the boys are really kind of focused on meeting Kurapika and learning from Kurapika, because they believe, or Killua certainly believes that Kurapika has figured something out, and he's spot on indeed. It's all about the conditions and all of that. So of course that potential reunion is on the horizon, perhaps really soon. But there's also talk of the auction that's in the morning, and this one is the one, of course, the boys are also interested in, because Greed Island, or copies of Greed Island, are going to be up for grabs, right? Of course, it's it's still, I mean it's a given. It's completely out of their reach as far as actually paying for it, or actually having a winning bid. So of course, they're, like I said some time ago, at this point they're going to have to think outside of the box, and I'm sure they'll come up with some kind of solution. They'll figure something out. And also, of course, Melody must have immediately noticed Kurapika's heartbeat, right? That it's given off something else entirely. I mean, first of all, just by looking at him, she could tell that he's just absolutely drained. This is not the usual Kurapika, right? Something has shifted dramatically, of course, on the outside, and then of course within him as well, right? She can tell almost immediately. It must have been quite the experience for her to see Kurapika in this manner, to have this reading on Kurapika, or his heartbeat rather. And of course, she tells him, you should go rest. You don't have to be here for this. And again, just dejected and defeated and just hollow, he tells her, yeah, maybe I'll do that. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. I'm just kind of hoping that sooner rather than later, Kurapika does kind of go to see his friends. He needs it right now. He really truly needs that right now, right? Because of course, under the right circumstances, there is a depth in solitude. There truly is. But there's also richness in connection, right? So I think it's time. It truly is time for Kurapika to reconnect, to go see his friends. And I think once he sees them, once he's around them, things can change. You know, there's going to be a lot of input from people that care about him, or at least, you know, one or two at least that really truly care about him. But yeah, that really is another fantastic episode. And Yorknew City is just on this incredible exponential incline at this point. My God, this is some arc. And I'm hoping that there is quite a bit more of this arc, right? That it's not about to reach its conclusion. But yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in timer-based full length or full opacity or early access to the next 5 episodes at this point, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. If you're interested, the links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.